Hello, TikTok. You are all welcome to this live session. Please, if you can see me and hear me okay, you can drop the an emoji of the US flag. It looks like my Facebook camera. I'm wondering if it's clear enough. I was looking for something to wipe it, but I think it looks fine. Okay, we have a lot to discuss as always, so join in and just type in USA or put the emoji of the US flag. Let me be sure that all of you across the various platforms can hear me on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm sorry, YouTube, no Twitter, Instagram. If you can hear me, drop USA or the US flag. We're about to get started momentarily. We don't have too much time today, so we will be here for less than an hour. But we have very exciting topics. At the end of it, I'm going to be telling you guys about what's happening with some fraud investigations across the US and how it's actually impacting cases. So stick with us and share the live feed. There's likely somebody that wants or needs to hear the information we're about to give. Okay, so let me get started with the government shutdown. Guys, if you can see me and hear me, please tap in and say USA or drop the US flag. Let me be sure that I'm not talking to myself. Okay. All right. You guys can see me and hear me well. So I'm going to get started with the government shutdown discussion, just talking about the impact across the agencies, and then we can move on to some trending immigration topics for today. I actually like this. This is he a senator? I think he's either a senator or he's a U.S. He's a representative. He's a representative. His name is Ami Bera. He's called Ami Bera. He has some really good information about the government shutdown on his page. Obviously, it's a little too detailed for our purposes. We don't want to go into all of that. We'll be just doing a summary. So I'll share my screen. My video is loading. My document that I have highlighted for today's purpose is loading. So please bear with me. I'm not sure why as the okay, maybe I should just use my document without this Amibera's information. Okay. Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay, so I still want the Amibera shuts down information. He shared some pretty good information on his website. He does government shutdown frequently asked questions, and it's quite comprehensive. Okay, let's get started here. So what happens when the US government shuts down? I'm using a document from AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association. So that's the source of the document. All right. As of October 1st, the US government has shut down. And as always, President Trump and his administration is blaming Democrats for this. They have not been able to, for budgetary reasons, like they haven't been able to agree where how much money goes, in the US governance. Just let's keep it that way. How much money should go where? And so, for budgetary reasons, there's no money for many of the agencies. Only essential agencies are working. So let's go over. And as I mentioned, the shutdown has been in effect since October 1st, 2025, when we're all sleeping at 1 a.m. EDT. So the general shutdown, federal agencies are shut down apart from essential workers. And so if the workers of these agencies, they are forced to go on leave and they are not going to be paid for the duration of the shutdown. This is obviously going to impact some families and people. All right, so let's go on to look at the immigration related consequences. The first is EOIR, Executive Office of Immigration Review. That's where when you are placed in deportation proceedings or removal proceedings, you are set. When you go to when your case is with the EOIR, it means you're going to be appearing in front of an immigration judge, and you are going to have kind of like a prosecutor for immigration courts, meaning there's going to be a trial attorney or an ICE attorney or a DHS attorney that will be acting as an adversary or your opponent. Okay, unlike USCIS, when you send your case, there's no adversary. It's an affirmative proceeding. There's nobody, putting it to you and cross-examining you and trying to bring out your bad character and trying to discredit you and trying to say you are lying and trying to say you're not eligible. But when you go to court, there is such a person there who's watching and is going to object, is going to just make your life hell. Okay, so the EOIR is not a fun place to be because you are going to be in the hot seat and you have the judge and then the government attorney, all of them on you. I mean, the judge is supposed to be a neutral arbiter, but in recent times, we've seen cases where some of the judges, they tend to side more with the Trump administration. Okay, so EOIR, that is it, and currently, both cases on the detained and non-detained docket are proceeding. When we say detained docket, there are some people that are subject to detention, meaning, so let's take, for example, somebody entered the US unlawfully without a visa and they were driving without a license, maybe in the streets of New York, in the streets of Ohio. ICE, well, not ICE, let's start with the police. The police saw that this person looks like they are drunk or they violated some traffic regulation, and so the police officer stops them and then says, okay, where's your license? The person doesn't have a license, and then they take them, maybe they book them into, they process them. And then for some of the states that have 287G, they can sometimes call ICE and say, look, we have somebody who doesn't have immigration status after they question the person. Sometimes some of the police officers have been trained to question about immigration status. Sometimes some of the places that they'll go will have some ICE officers that will also question about your immigration status, so long as you've been booked into the system. And if they find out that you are not you don't have status and you are committing certain types of offenses, you could be subject to the detention. So now the government is of the position that people who came in unlawfully without visas, without parole, without inspection, admission, they are subject to mandatory detention. And so if you are in detention, then your case is on the detained docket. And usually those cases try to move faster because some people have to stay in detention for the duration of the time that they are in immigration court. When your case is on the non-detained docket in immigration court, it means that you're going and coming. Some people are living their lives as usual. They're going home, they're seeing their kids, they're going to work. So somebody could be going to work, they could be at work with you, but they are in immigration proceedings and they're going through a very dark time. So detained versus non-detained docket. Well, previously, when there was a government shutdown, it would affect just the non-detained docket. They would just continue processing the detained docket because it was kind of essential, right? Because these people are locked, they're locked up in detention. So you want to just process them but now they are processing all these cases. And my suspicion is that because currently the US government is, because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, now the US government has passed on a lot of fees to immigrants. So now even asylum, there are fees, initial asylum applications. Before um, July 4th, I believe 2025, you would not pay an initial asylum fee. Let me just double check the dates, because now there's new as this asylum fee, an initial $100 for all asylums filed with, either you file it with USCIS or you file it with EOIR. And for immigration courts, July 4th. Okay, that's correct. Yes. So first in asylum applications from July 4th, 2025, you have to make sure that your asylum application is accompanied or supplemented by $100 fee payment. Asylum was free, right? Now you're paying for these things. Adjustment of status. There's now a One Big Beautiful Bill fee that you have to pay. So you don't only, let me pull, I think we did that some time ago, but I'll still, let me see if I can pull it up. Now, if you are in immigration court and you are applying for a green card, you are not only just going to pay your regular about $1,400, you're going to pay an additional fee of about, so it comes up to less than $3,000. I think we did this some time ago. Let me see if I can pull up the fees for that, and then we can just briefly talk about it. I know we're talking about shutdown, but I'm just connecting the fact that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has imposed new fees on immigrants. And so they are able to fund many of these applications. They're able to fund many of these agencies. They're able to pay people who work for these federal or government agencies. And so even if there's no money coming in from the federal government, some of these agencies or some of the work is able to proceed or progress. Okay, I was able to pull it up. Now the annual asylum fee before the implementation of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, it was $0. Now it's $100, and then it's an additional $100 for each year your case remains pending. So there's, even if you file it with USCIS, you file it with immigration court, you gotta pay these fees. Now for the adjustment of status is what I'm looking for now. I think I should be able to get that momentarily. Great. So with the adjustment of status, this is the general filing fee for the 485 when you're applying for a green card is $1,440 with USCIS. You pay the fees with USCIS. Now there's a new One Big Beautiful Bill Act fee, an additional $1,500. It brings the big total to $2,940 for if you are just filing a green card application in immigration court. You're going to pay USCIS fee plus the $1,500 One Big Beautiful Bill Act fee. And so I'm not surprised that this time, despite the US government shuts down, cases on the non-detained dockets are also proceeding. It could be because now they're anticipating more money from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, all the additional fees that have been imposed on immigrants. We went through all of this on a live video session. We posted several of these on our pages, the new fees, old fees, what people are supposed to be paying. The government is going to be making a lot of money. And I've told you guys, if you have a president who's an entrepreneur, I mean, look, any loophole where he can collect money, he's going to collect the money. So it's not surprising at all. So now they seem to, some of these agencies seem to have money that they're going to be running on. Okay, now you see here, I'm not sure why this moved up. Let me push this here. You see here that this is a departure from previous shutdowns when generally immigration court cases on the detained docket would move on or move forward, while non-detained docket cases would be rescheduled or postponed or reset for a later date when funding resumes. All right. Now, if you look at the EOIR's immigration court operational status, you will see that all the courts are currently open. I think we shared a video on it, EOIR Immigration Court. Let's just double check again to see if anything has changed in any of the states. Okay, let me just share the screen I have now, and you guys will also see. We shared a video of the status of immigration court. So I'm back at this is the EOIR Immigration Court operational status. Okay, so this is where you see information about each immigration court. So before you go, you're able to check, oh, is it open today or is it not open today? All right, you come down here and you'll see that Adelanto in California, Annandale in Virginia, my very own Annandale, then Atlanta Immigration Court is open. All these immigration courts are open. Chicago, Monroe Street is open. Clark Street is open. Those immigration courts are open. Cleveland, all these immigration courts are still open and they are operating. So despite the government shuts down, if you have an immigration court hearing, you have to make sure you show up, because if you do not show up, look at Memphis, it's open. Louisville hearing location is open. If you do not show up, you will be deported or removed in absentia, meaning in your absence, there will be a deportation order on you and ICE can now execute it. So you guys can see this is all the way from all the way through to Ulster in New York. Okay, all these courts are open. There's not even one that shuts down currently. So we've seen from, let me scroll up again here. We have from Atlanta to Ulster, all immigration courts are open. There you go. So EOIR is proceeding as usual. Tucson, Arizona, Tacoma, Washington. All right. So now let's go back to EOIR. We're looking at what is the effect on immigration, because of the government shutdown. We've seen that immigration courts are open. If your case is going to be postponed, you're going to be sent a new notice of hearing, and it will tell you the new date and time and place. Okay, now USCIS, we've already said it's a fee-funded agency. It's your monies that are funding their operations. If you're applying for a green card, you saw $1,440. If you're applying for a work permit, you pay some fees. You're applying for naturalization, you pay fees. If you are reopening, everything you're applying for, you typically pay fees. And so those monies are what they use to pay the people that work there, and they pay operational costs with that money. So because it's a fee-funded agency, even though the government has shut down, it's business as usual. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. There are some programs that receive what we call appropriated funds, or funds that are carved out for those programs. E-Verify is the system that employers use to verify that an employee or a worker actually has authorization to work in the United States. They have permission from the US government to work. So E-Verify receives funds. EB5 Immigrant Investor Regional Center Program receives funds. Conrad 30J1 Doctors Program receives funds. Non-minister religious workers also receives funds. That's the I-360 or the EB4 based on, obviously, at the I-360. If you are coming to apply for EB4, an immigrant visa as a special religious worker, as a non-minister. Now, those programs are typically suspended, but in this case, EB5 has been authorized by Congress through September 30th, 2027, so it should not be impacted. Then the Special Immigrant Religious Worker Program, it will sunset. It's already sunset, actually. It expired on September 30th, 2025. This, they have to renew every year. Congress has to renew every year. So we're hoping that they'll renew again this year until, unless something has changed. So we're waiting on that. USCIS previously confirmed that employers may continue to use the new alternative review process for remote I-9 document verification if E-Verify is temporarily unavailable due to government shutdown. So there is an alternate review process for remote I-9 document verification. The I-9 is a form that you will fill out to show, oh, I'm a US citizen, or I'm a lawful permanent resident and I have my green card. Things like the I-9 is the form that employees fill out to show what their status is, that they have eligibility to work for in the United States if they are not US citizens. And if you're a US citizen, you got to mark you're a US citizen. Let me tell you guys, the I-9 is another source of problems for many immigrants. I-9, if you are not a US citizen, please do not tick you are a US citizen. You guys, you were here, I think last month, when there was a new memo by USCIS which said that it confirmed again that the issue of false claim to US citizenship, you don't need intent. And we went over matter of Zhang, if you guys remember the case law where a Chinese national, it was right on our live session, he had actually gone to buy a naturalization certificate from somebody who worked with USCIS. One of the USCIS employees was selling naturalization certificates to people. And so you would, if you were undocumented, guess what? All you had to do was buy a naturalization certificate, and then you would use that to go and apply for a US passport, and voila, you became a US passport, just like magic. So this was a scheme that somebody in USCIS was doing, selling these things until it was all discovered. Now, in that case, matter of Zhang, that's where they said that, look, intent doesn't matter. If you go and claim you are a US citizen, the crime is complete. The civil violation is complete. You don't need to have intent, like have the intent that, oh, I want to deceive or whatever. So even if you make a mistake on the I-9 form and you claim that you are a US citizen when you are not, you will get something called a false claim to US citizenship. It makes you deportable. It makes you inadmissible. It doesn't have a waiver. It's one of the harshest immigration violations you can ever find, as innocent as it is. Because when we say you are deportable, if you're a green card holder, you will be sent to immigration court. You will be placed in removal proceedings and sent to immigration court to come and answer why you should not be deported. And there's a very, very narrow exception for people who were under 16 years old and they believe their parents to be US citizens. And how many people, can meet that waiver requirement? And if you are inadmissible, it means that you are not yet a green card holder, or you are not yet inside the United States. You cannot come in on a visa, or you cannot get a green card. That means inadmissible. Now look at this I-9 form I'm sharing here. I-9 is the employment eligibility verification. If you look here, it will tell you, you look at number 2, the employer review verification. You have to enter your documents. Okay, you have to enter your document, the document that entitles you to work in the United States. So we have list A document, list B document, list C document. Now, these are the list of acceptable documents that you can use to work in the United States. And now I'll tell you, a lot of employers are clamping down on these things because there's job and work rates, there's enforcement at workplaces. So if you look at list A, so let me come here. All documents that contain an expiration date must be unexpired. So if you go to a new workplace, they'll tell you fill out this I-9, or they will do you do the I-9, right? The I-9 is something that you need to have filled out to show that you are eligible to work. List A document. Now let me go back again and say that employees, they may present one selection from list A, or so if you are going for list A, you can just bring one document. Now, list A is the highest priority or the highest evidence that you can work in the United States. List B has to be presented in conjunction with list C. List B document. So list A is a very independent, what in my country you will say ordinary documents, right? list A, if you have that document, nobody can talk to you or ask you any question. But when you have list B document, it cannot stand on its own as evidence of ability to work in the US. It has to be combined with list B. So if you look here, it says list A or list B and list C. So for list A, these top documents are US passport card, permanent resident card, or your green card, a foreign passport that contains a form I-551 or an added stamp. That's evidence. The form I-551 is evidence that you're a lawful permanent resident. And it's usually given to people who maybe they've filed for removal of conditions, their case is pending, sometimes 3 years, 4 years. And they have to travel, they have to work. You can go to your field office and get the added stamp in your passport. It's an immigrant visa. It's the form I-551 stamp. And it's the same as the immigrant visa stamp you get when you get an immigrant visa from your country to enter the US. So pretty much evidence of a green card, that you are a green card holder. And then you have employment authorization that contains your photograph. That's a form I-766. That's a work permit. Then for an individual temporarily authorized, I don't want to go through all of this. It's a lot of it. We'll do this another day. But list B is something like your driver's license issued by a state and a social security card. Okay, now if it says not valid for employment, you know that it's not valid for employment. Okay, so there's all these documents there. Now that's the I-9 that has to be, that has to be filled out. Let's go back to our shutdown document. Okay, now so you see the things that an I-9 says. You have to be able to fill out. Oh my gosh, I was actually going to look at the status, and then we went into all these documents. But you will see that for the I-9, there's a portion that will ask you, good, this is what I actually wanted to show, and we went down a different tangent. Okay, I'm sharing that again. Please bear with me. Let's see here. I'm going to share the I-9 again, and you'll see it right there. At the first section 1. If you look at where I'm pointing, it says check one of the following boxes to attest to your citizenship or immigration status. Again, look at this. This is the form which employers use. Okay, employers must ensure the form instructions are available to employees when completing this form. Employers are liable for failing to comply with the requirements for completing this form. This is employment verification eligibility to show that you are eligible to work for a US company. And so over here, do not go and tick the first box if you are not a US citizen. Second box is a non-citizen national of the US. Third box is a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder. You enter your USCIS number. Number 4 is you are an alien authorized to work or a non-immigrant authorized to work. Okay, so that's it. Just make sure you do not ever make a mistake. Look, even if you are sleeping and filling out this form and your hand leads you to take that, this would be nice to take that, I'm a US citizen. Please amass all the strength in you, shift the pen, and let it move away from the US citizenship box. Don't joke with that. It's the biggest. It has really devastating consequences. False claim to US citizenship. Intent doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you were filling it at home and you were breastfeeding and your 9-month-old leg. You see, sometimes when we go to court, people have a lot of stories. 9-month-old leg hit the pen and the pen ticked US citizen. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it was your whoever ticked it, or you didn't know, or you didn't see, or you didn't have an idea. Doesn't matter. You are liable if you take it and you are not a US citizen. So please be very mindful of that. Now let's move on. So bottom line, USCIS, E-Verify might not work, but there are alternatives that employers can use, alternative review process. And then in the past years, when governments reopened, USCIS accepted late filings, provided you I-129 filings, okay? And not just any late filing, I-129 late filings. And these filings, the I-129 is for non-immigrant worker. That's the application they fill out. And the reason is that sometimes maybe employers or attorneys couldn't access some, or they're unable to access some federal resources that they need in order to prepare filings, like the Department of Labor Systems for labor certifications or LCAs in um, labor condition applications in H-1B cases or SAFE verifications. Sometimes mailroom or logbox operations are slowed down because of um, the shutdown. So petitions are not able to be delivered and receipted on time. Some people get so confused about whether they can file, and then they could miss deadlines. And so usually if you filed an I-129 late and you were able to submit evidence that your primary reason for failing to timely file an extension of stay or change of status request was government shutdown, then it could be exempted. Okay, please note that extension of stay, change of stay, those are very time sensitive applications. And so usually you always have to do them before your current status expires. You have to submit it, the extension of stay or change of stay, before your current status that you're in expires. So take note of that. Department of State is the agency that takes care of all the US embassies around the world. So visa and passport operations are also fee funded. I mean, the embassies make so much money, guys. Your visa fees, they make millions, if not billions of dollars in a year. And so they cannot shut down because they even need that money more than you need the visa. You see, all together, the money becomes a big pool that the US is able to benefit from, whether they like to admit it or not. Okay, now, so visa and passport operations are fee funded and they're not normally impacted by a lapse in appropriations. It means a gap in funding. That's a lapse in, appropriating funds to all these agencies. All right. Yeah, they just like to give very fancy names for simple things just to confuse everybody. These nevertheless be impacted. Okay, yeah. So Department of State visa servicing can be impacted if there are insufficient fees to support operations at a particular post. So if at an embassy they see that, hey, every month usually 500 people apply for visas and we're able to get $500 million. But this month maybe just 50 people have applied, and we need a minimum of $600 million to run operations. They are going to slow down that particular post. Let's say US Embassy in Accra or US Embassy in Abuja. They are going to slow down and say, now we're going to handle only diplomatic visas and life or death emergencies. All right. Now for CBP, it's considered essential. Those are the Customs and Border Protection. They patrol the ports of entry, so airports, seaports, land ports. They are there, officers, making sure that people don't sneak and hide. Because you guys, again, I'll say the US is the #1 country of destination for immigrants around the world. So you guys will not believe it. Every day when Biden was in power, every day there were every month, I would say there were hundreds of thousands of people who were coming in illegally through the border. According to statistics pushed out by the Trump administration, now the numbers are down to 0. I mean, everybody's afraid. Like, you won't even dare to try to enter. So the CBP people, they are at these ports of entries guarding the US, because once they lose guard, the entire country is going to be filled with people from all around the world. Imagine walking on the streets and the whole world is here. We can't even get space to walk because everybody is here, right? So the CBP, they are at these ports of entries to make sure that people are not jumping walls and coming in the US without parole or a visa or without inspection. So that is essential for the safety and protection of the United States. The borders are a big priority for them. So despite government shuts down, they are still, imagine the borders now open, like, oh, government has shut down, so let's go to the US. So yeah, they are still working. ICE is working. I think we already shared something on our social media pages. I gave a warning that they are still enforcing immigration laws. They are conducting raids. You guys have already seen it. Chicago, Raids are happening, so many things are happening. So they are not, you see, ICE has money too. ICE, they got a lot of money from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. They were given a lot of money and they have been empowered to take action. So they ask for ICE, they are not going to sleep. They are not shut down. They are continuing to operate. Now, yeah, ICE and removal operations, ERO, enforcement and removal operations, ERO, they are still working. The Office of Principal Legal Advisor, OPLA, and assistant chief counsels, those are the people in immigration court. They will focus on, or when I say they are the ones that are handling removal cases in court, they will focus on representing the government in the detained immigration court dockets during shutdown. Now, ICE student and exchange visa program, the SEVP offices, they are also unaffected since CVIS is funded by fees. If you're coming into the US as a foreigner, or as a foreigner or as an immigrant or an international student, you want to study in the US, you have to make sure you are applying to something called an SEVP certified school. It means this school has certification to admit international students and to issue an I-20 that they'll use to get a visa. So these are the because SCVP, you pay your CVIS fee. I believe there is the I-901. People pay, these immigrants or international students pay fees. So these things are funded. And these schools that are also certified to be SCVP, I believe that there's monies or payments that they make to the government. Okay. Yeah. Now for ICE, if you're detained by ICE, the fact that the government are shut down doesn't mean that you cannot be visited or your family member cannot be visited through scheduling phone calls or visitation is still working. And then Department of Labor, I think we will skip Department of Labor. Department of Labor is more, more employment based. So yeah, some of the systems are placed on hold, like the flag system. The Department of Labor's website is deactivated. And if you guys saw, US embassies, they said, look, we're not going to be updating our social media pages. Just listen, we don't even have money. Why should we be paying people to update social media pages? So they put out all these advisories that they're not going to be updating social media pages. Now, your congressional constituent services, so your the congressman in your constituency, their offices may be closed. So you have to contact the individual office to see if they are open or not. Okay. All right, guys. And then we're going to be talking about, well, let me see if we have any questions, but this is a very interesting investigation that USCIS recently did. And and I'm going to show you, let me see, maybe I have to, hold on, let me see if I can I'm going to have to use my iBook, because my team was supposed to upload it, but I do not find anything uploaded. So let's see if I can just do it directly from my iBook here. Okay, there you go. Yes, I think this worked. Is this? No, this is it. Okay. Did it work? No, these are, let me see what we can do here. Hold on, let me share. Guys, bear with me. So I was watching is it Joseph Edlow? He's a USCIS director, talking about they're just trying to overwhelm the system. The government, the Trump administration, I should say, is trying to overwhelm the system. They are just trying to, they're sending their agents everywhere as much as they can and literally overwhelming the system. So they have been is this it? Is this, I'm not sure, guys. Hold on, let's see. No, not this one. This is the naturalization test. I'm trying to share my screen for um, the new investigation. I hope it's this one. I don't know. Oh, there you go. Okay, thank God. There you go. Wonderful. Okay, there we have it. All right, great. Why can't I open up my screen? There you go. So USCIS, I think a couple of days ago, they announced result of Operation Twin Shield. This was a large-scale immigration fraud investigation. Now, this happened in Minneapolis, and what happened was that USCIS officers, they said they discovered immigration fraud in forms of marriage fraud, fake death certificates, and other bizarre or crazy schemes. Okay, so in Minneapolis, USCIS with ICE and FBI, they conducted Operation Twin Shield, and this was the first of its kind. And they said they were trying to target an increase in fraud, and they want to deter or prevent people from all these kind of fake activities across Minneapolis, St. Paul, and its environs. So September 19th to 28th, immigration USCIS officers, they discovered suspected fraud in 275 cases in the Minneapolis St. Paul area. Let's go here. Hold on, guys. I think let me take this banner off. There you go. Okay, now the effort was focused on what they did was site visits. And when we talk about site visits, it means that you are at home and USCIS will visit you. File that application with USCIS and they'll visit you at home. Or you said you're working at a place, they'll visit your workplace. If you filed an employment-based petition and they want to verify some information, they'll visit your workplace. Okay. Site visits could also mean they are visiting your mom or your mother-in-law or your brother-in-law or whatever, anything that can help them verify some of the claims you are making in your application on the ground. They want to verify on the ground whether what you've submitted is in line with what is happening. So the effort focused on site visits and targeted verifications for applicants and petitioners with pending immigration benefits who matched specified risk criteria. You guys, the reason why this is really important is that the USCIS director has said that this is the first of its kind, but it's not going to be the last of its kind. This means that they are likely going to replicate this across the country nationwide. And first of all, it's for people with pending immigration benefits, and they are going to match you against risk criteria. We've done these things here several times. They have the USCIS fraud indicators. They have the fraud sheet that they typically use. And if you are checkboxing some of these fraud indicators, then they conduct an investigation into your case. All right, let's move on to the actual gist of. Let me see. Can I scroll down? Oh, okay, there you go. Let's see here. No. Let me see here. Okay, I'm trying to scroll down, but I'm having a little difficulty. Please bear with me. Let me see if this is. Why is this not showing? Okay, maybe I should hold on. I'm just trying to. Okay, there you go. The iBooks had hidden itself. So let's scroll down with this. Okay, I think we are right here. There you go. I hope it's excellent. This is the main gist of everything. Now, if you look here, it goes on to say that, okay, so it focused on site visits for people with pending applications. And this is from the Executive Order 14161, protecting the U.S. from foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats. The types of applications for immigration benefits investigated. So these are the applications that they investigated: marriage-based petitions, family-based petitions. When we talk about family-based petitions, it can be mother filing for son filing for parent, things like that. Employment authorizations, that's work permit. And they also investigated parole-related requests. So they looked at uniting for Ukraine. Is it United for Ukraine? That You for You program that we also talked about. Okay, so now come here. Operation Twin Shield, according to USCIS, they said it was a resounding success. USCIS focused on more than 1,000 cases that had fraud or ineligibility indicators. That's what I'm telling you. A lot of people file their cases and it has a lot of fraud indicators jumping all around it. And they sometimes are not even aware that, oh, these are red flags. And I've told you guys, if you are submitting anything about yourself to the US government, you better let an attorney review it. An attorney that knows what they're doing, that has experience and understands what's happening, review and work with you before you submit certain things to the government. So they picked out 1,000 cases that had fraud indicators. And out of the 1,000 cases, they conducted over 900 site visits and in-person interviews. And then they found evidence of fraud, non-compliance, public safety, national security concerns in 275 cases. That's 44%. In 275 cases. Now, 44% of cases interviewed, right? So these were 44% of the cases they interviewed, they found these issues. Now, USCIS then coordinated with ICE and FBI, and they went into the people's houses, into the communities, to conduct more inspections. Apparently, the USCIS director Edlu said that first of its kind that they did was that after they conducted a USCIS interview, that same day they went into a home inspection. So say you've gone for your US immigration interview at 10 a.m. And by 3 p.m., so you've gone 10 a.m., you've gone to answer certain questions. Oh, yeah, we live together. By 3 p.m., USCIS is already in your home, asking your neighbors, trying to figure out what's happening, or at your workplace, trying to get certain information. They did a same day interview plus site inspection. And Joseph Edlow, the USCIS director, was very happy with that and said it's going to be happening a lot more. Okay. So he also said that USCIS issued notices to appear, or he referred immigrants to ICE in 42 cases. That was on September 30th when this was released. And 4 immigrants were arrested. Okay, now look at these things that the things that happened. They said Operation Twin Shield uncovered many lies. So the first story is that one alien or non-immigrant, he admitted to fabricating a death certificate from Kenya. So this non-immigrant is our brother from Africa. He's from Kenya, and he had gone to pay $100 for a death certificate. And this was to falsely claim that his wife was dead. Meanwhile, the wife is actually living in Minneapolis and is the mother of 5 of this man's children. Can you guys imagine that? So this man, he wants to say that the marriage has ended. And I suspect that he was likely filing a green card application through marriage to another person, a fraud marriage, because he's trying to do a fraud marriage. And so instead of saying that, oh, I'm divorced from the mother of my 5 children, because they're like, I don't know, maybe he thought that would raise a red flag. He contacted his people in Kenya, paid $100 and told them, look, get me a death certificate. The mother of my children is dead. She's gone. And then submitted this fake death certificate. Meanwhile, your wife, who's the mother of your 5 children, she's in Minneapolis, has 5 of your children. So that was the first one of the cases. Then in another case, a non-immigrant who is a son of a suspected terrorist, he had overstayed his visa, and previously he was found to engage in marriage fraud, which had resulted in and after doing the marriage fraud, he had applied for several immigration benefits and had gotten denials. When you get marriage fraud, the 204C bar applies, and you cannot get any immigration benefit in the US. You are forever barred. You are permanently barred from getting a US immigration benefit unless you are able to overcome the fraud or rebut, you are able to rebut the fraud. Like say, no, this is not true. It's not really fraud. And you are able to really fight your case so that 204C bar will not stick. Now, the other one is in another case, a petitioner admitted to officers with Operation Twin Shield that she committed marriage fraud. This was only a few hours after swearing that her marriage was bona fide during an interview. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, sometimes when they put you in the room and they start questioning you, it's not, it's, people think that, oh yeah, I can withstand questioning. But when the ones that are on the hot seat, they start questioning them after a few hours, then they confess. So that was a confession that it was a marriage fraud. It usually means that she was probably caught somehow, or there was some issue with her case, and then they put it together. No, putting this and this together, you gotta confess. Now the last one is they said it was a non-immigrant. I'm sorry, an immigrant. An immigrant. Why did I say a non-immigrant? An immigrant. Um, so wherever I said a non-immigrant, I likely meant an immigrant or a non-citizen or a non-green card. Well, and even an alien is a green card holder. So maybe I should just stick with this. An alien, you know what it means? It means the person is not a US citizen. It can be undocumented, it can be a green card holder. This person engaged in marriage fraud, and they said that person took advantage of an elderly US citizen spouse, and they subjected the spouse to elder abuse and exploitation. So this is Operation Twin Shield for you. And they're saying that more of it is going to happen across the country. All right, you guys have seen things happening in Chicago. There's a lot of raids happening in Chicago currently. All right, so yeah, let me see if we have a couple questions today. We've exhausted all our time, but we should be able to take a couple questions. Let's see. Let's see if there's any questions on Instagram. The Ricks on YouTube, please call us. I see you have a question that you need, attention. You need to get attention for this case. You said, hello, I was removed from the US as a green card holder 15 years ago by my parents. Now I have a B1, B2 visa. How should I proceed if I want to live in the US? Contact us. Let's help you. There's something called abandonment of permanent residency. If you lived outside the US as a green card holder for more than 6 months without a valid re-entry permit, which is usually valid for 2 years, then you can be deemed to have abandoned your permanent residency. But there's a lot to consider there. So please contact us, and then we can see how to assist you. All right. Somebody is looking for a marriage partner on Instagram as well. Well, I wish you all the best. Okay, let me see if there's any other. Let's see on TikTok. Okay, Trick or Treat on TikTok says, please, how long would it take for a stepmom to file for his married adult son? For immigration purposes, for a stepmom to file for her married adult son, you have to make sure that there's a valid step parent-child relationship. Oh, what's going on? How did I get this filter on Instagram? Okay. Yeah, you have to make sure there's a valid step parent step, parent child relationship. And the valid step relationship is created if there is marriage between your biological parent and your step mother or father before you turned 18 years old. That's how there's a valid step parent child relationship. How long it takes, it will, if it's a valid relationship, it will be the same as the F3 category, a US citizen filing for a married son. F3 category, and it can take several years, several years. Um, I can double check that currently. Let me see, but no, let me see if we can answer a couple more questions. It can take several years, just a lot of years. Let's see. There's another question. Okay, let me just do the October 2025 visa bulletin, and we'll look at the F3 category, and then I think I'll be able to just respond to that, how long it's currently taking for a visa to be available to you for F3 category. Currently, they are processing cases that were filed before September 8, 2011. So it's currently taking about, there's a backlog of 14 years. 14 years. So F3, that's a US citizen filing for married son. Minimum currently is 14 years. That can change. It can retrogress or it can progress in the visa bulletin. Okay. Trick or treat, you are welcome. Yes, we'll look forward to contacting you. Let me see if there's another question here that I can answer. Otherwise, I think we've answered a couple questions. And thank you so much, Daddy K, answering somebody's questions. That's it. I don't know what the person said, but okay, maybe I should find that person's question and see. Okay, Peace Ibra one says, please, where are you located? And Daddy K on TikTok says she can help you irrespective of your location. She's so good. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it very, very much. All right, guys, it has been a pleasure as always being your host for today's US Live Immigration Show. I am so honored. I'm very thankful that you all joined us. Oh, yesterday we celebrated 10 years. I've been 10, I mean, I cannot believe it. 10 years as a lawyer, as a Ghana lawyer. Even though I didn't practice too much in Ghana, I did just about 6 months after pupillage, and then I came. So I didn't practice too much in Ghana. And then when I came, I did my New York bar exam and then got launched into American practice. Okay, so this is Gloria Angel. She says, I'm trying to book a consultation, but I'm informed you're fully booked. Yes, but we do have emergency slots carved out. Please tell them you want an emergency slot. There's some available. So please do that, and then we can, because there's certainly are some slots for that. Okay, guys. Yeah. So yesterday, 10 years as a Ghanaian lawyer. It hasn't been an easy journey. It's yes, it's been tough, but I know that I'm fully in my calling. I just love the law so much. I mean, when I start reading a case law, I'm just excited. Let me tell you guys one joke. I remember I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was asking my husband that, what's my love language? And without hesitation, he just tells me law. You guys know the love languages are acts of service, gifts, touch, and all those things. So yes, yeah, I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. The law makes me happy. And so I remember when I relocated to the US, I was like, look, lawyer or nothing. I'm like, I just could not imagine doing any other thing. I mean, and I'm likely going to do more things in the future. You guys will hear about it, of course. But the law will, always be, I guess, part of my life or journey. So thank you for celebrating with me and with us. I appreciate you all. And I'll wish you guys a great rest of your day. You guys know we are available to assist with all U.S. immigration matters. We handle cases in all 50 states in the United States and all around the world, and we mean it. So contact us if you need help. Our number is right there, 802-780-0564. Set up an appointment and I'll talk one-on-one with you, hear your case, look at your documents, and give you strategy that has legal precision, and that will help you. Okay. So yeah, you can just Google us, AK Poku Law. You'll be able to find our contact information as well. Follow us on social media. If you have not yet followed us, what are you waiting for? Oh my goodness. You better hit that follow button, follow us, share our feed. And if you've enjoyed this live session, just drop USA, drop the flag of the United States in the comment section. And hopefully, I'm going to see you guys next week. Okay. Stay tuned to our pages and we'll see you soon. Bye. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.